Have you ever been told by a chiropractor, physical therapist, massage therapist, or some other provider that your muscles feel tight just by them touching you? My name is Brad Logue. I'm a physical therapist and the owner of Top Tier Physical Therapy, and I want to explain to you in this video why that's not necessarily true and hopefully give you some more information to make sense of someone telling you that your muscles are tight. To start, we need to define what tightness actually is. Tightness is a measure of flexibility of a muscle. Flexibility is something that is assessed through movement. So if I want to determine how tight a muscle is, I need to move the joint or joints that muscle crosses and measure an angle of one or two of those joints to get an objective measure of how much that muscle is lengthening. So an easy example would be if I'm trying to assess someone's hamstring tightness, I would put them on their back, flex their hip at a standard angle. I usually do 90 degrees, and then extend their knee as far as I can and measure the angle of their knee. So I'm getting an objective measure of how much their knee is extending, which will help tell me how much that hamstring is lengthening. Tightness is not a measure of just touching someone. To give the massage therapist, physical therapist, chiropractors, whoever else the benefit of the doubt, what they're actually describing to you is muscle tone. Muscle tone is not as patient-friendly of a language as tightness. More people can understand and comprehend tightness than they can tone. So I think sometimes these providers are just using the word tightness and not actually believing that the tissue is tight itself. But for you, it's important to know that them telling you that something feels tight does not mean that that tissue has actually shrunk. It likely means that that tissue just has more muscle tone. So now what is muscle tone? Think of muscle tone as how much my muscle is turned on or activated. So if I'm sitting here quietly and I'm grabbing my bicep is soft, it's at rest, it has very low muscle tone. If I then make a muscle and flex my bicep and I touch it, that muscle now becomes harder, indicating that it has more muscular tone. So the more activated or turned on a muscle is, the more tone that muscle will have. Tone is something that you can feel. It's something you can palpate. So when one of these providers is doing some kind of massage or palpating you and touching you and as a part of their assessment, and they feel that maybe my left shoulder is much more harder than my right shoulder, they're assessing muscular tone. That is something we can identify through touch. And you could also kind of extrapolate that if this muscle has a lot of tone, it's not going to lengthen. So let me explain that a little bit more. A muscle that has a lot of tone is more activated. A muscle that is more activated is more shortened. That means if that muscle is turned on to shorten to a certain degree, it's going to be harder to then stretch that muscle and lengthen it. So this may be something that will lead to tightness. So let's say someone has a hamstring injury, going back to my previous example. Someone's injured their hamstring and they have a lot of muscular tone. If I'm palpating that muscle, it's very, very hard compared to their uninvolved side. I would assume that if I put that person on the table and assess their flexibility, that the flexibility on that muscle that has a lot more tone is going to be less than the uninvolved side. So the two can kind of identify each other or indicate one and the other. The problem is when people hear that they are tight, they usually want to rely on stretching. So if I go to let's say I get in a car accident and I go to a massage therapist and they're working on my shoulders and they're like, oh man, Brad, your shoulder feels really, really tight. Your neck muscles feel really, really tight. Well, I'm automatically going to assume that the tightness is contributing to the pain I'm having. And to combat this tightness, I need to make it untight. And usually that is associated with stretching. So I'm going to go home, I'm going to crank on my neck muscles, I'm going to pull and do all these things, and it might give me temporary relief, but it's not going to fix the underlying issue. A muscle that has a lot of muscular tone is likely in the state of guarding. Think of guarding as a natural brace. So a simple example for this would be a whiplash injury. So if you're in a car accident, you get rear-ended, you have this whiplash moment, and you damage or you injure the ligaments in your neck. All the muscles in your neck are then going to tighten, grab on, they're going to shorten, I should say, and grab on and make movement hard so as to not stress those ligaments and allow them to heal. This shortening and turning on of my muscles is going to limit motion, which is going to make my neck feel really, really tight. If I then go and crank on those muscles, I'm forcing myself to do something that my body doesn't want to do. My body does not want movement of my neck to allow my ligaments to heal, but here I am trying to pull on those muscles and generate movement in my neck, and now those muscles are just fighting me even more. So I have this counterproductive episode of where I'm trying to stretch a muscle that doesn't want to be stretched. What needs to happen instead with a muscle that has muscular tone is it needs to be loaded and strengthened. And this does not mean I should go grab 50-pound dumbbells and do resisted shrugs. It identifies that I need to activate this muscle to more or less let the brain know that, hey, it's okay if we use these muscles. It's okay that we let them relax so I can move my head. So if you are going to some kind of provider and they're touching you and they're telling you that you have tightness, just know that what they are likely identifying for you is that you have muscular tone. Not that stretching is bad for you. It may be therapeutic in the short term, but if you really want a long-term response and long-term improvement in whatever you're dealing with, you're going to have to load these muscles in a very gradual and gentle way. Okay, so just know that tone and tightness may intertwine with each other, but they are not the same thing. What someone is assessing when they touch you is tone. What they're assessing when they put you through some kind of movement and measuring an angle is tightness. I hope this kind of clarifies something you likely have heard if you've ever gone to a massage therapist, a PT, or a chiro. They are describing muscular tone when they touch you. They are not describing tightness. And just because they're telling you you feel tight does not mean you need to do a ton of strengthening exercises or stretching exercises. You would benefit more from doing strengthening exercises. So, as always, if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.